What are the developments of the N.R.B's support for Israel that were announced in connection or around this convention?
The N.R.B. Board of Directors at their annual meeting this year adopted another resolution unanimously supporting the right of Israel to exist, commending the Trump administration for moving the embassy to Jerusalem, for commending the Trump administration for declaring Israel the capital, declaring Jerusalem the capital of Israel, and many other aspects of this matter. The fifth resolution of this kind in 5 years that demonstrates there is no lessening of support for Israel within N.R.B. Israel remains a core concern and conviction for many N.R.B. members. That hasn't changed. That's not going to change. And it's a very important issue for our members. It's so important that N.R.B. played a prominent role in the Christian Media Summit hosted by the government of Israel the last 2 years, and included last year our president welcoming and introducing the president of Israel during one of those sessions. And during that session, he actually read portions of previously adopted resolutions by N.R.B.'s board supporting Israel. So the point is very clear that there is a very strong support for Israel among N.R.B. members. That will continue.
Now, you say it's the fifth year of doing this, so it must have started during the Obama years. What spurred the inspiration to generate these during that era?
It didn't start during the Obama years. It has gone way back to the very beginning of N.R.B. Israel, a conviction about Israel and support for Israel is at the core of N.R.B. It is a long-standing concern and conviction of N.R.B. to support Israel's right to exist and related issues for Israel. It just happens to be the case that for 5 consecutive years, resolutions have been adopted. Now, it is true that in the previous administration, there was concern among evangelicals that the Obama administration had lessened its support for Israel. So there was a greater, perhaps, urgency to make clear, again, our support for Israel. But it would be a mistake to assume that that started under the Obama administration. The reality is that for theological and political and common sense reasons, evangelicals have long supported Israel, and so has N.R.B.
So for Jewish or agnostic or secular people who are not familiar, are televangelists or television ministries, are they particularly of the evangelical denomination?
Well, there are all kinds of Christian broadcasters in America and around the world. Many of them are evangelical, and it would be probably safe to say that evangelical Christians dominate religious broadcasting because evangelicals dominate the religious landscape in America in many different ways. But it is true that there are many other kinds of broadcasters in America, some of which are some of which are not evangelical, some of which are not even Christian, let alone evangelical. But evangelical broadcasting is very strong in the United States, as represented in the strength of N.R.B.
But among the Presbyterians, for instance, there's a strong movement to support Palestinians over Israel. How does it break down? Does it break down by denominations that the evangelicals are strongly Zionistic and others are less?
I'm not probably the best person to answer that question, but I would say that it's careful. You need to be careful to understand that when you say Presbyterians are more pro-Palestinian, you have to define what you mean by Presbyterian, because there are evangelical Presbyterians and there are mainline Protestant Presbyterians, and they would likely hold differing views on that subject. Now, there's going to be a great deal of theological finesse among Christians on how they understand these issues theologically, biblically, but you can't look at it and say, well, a Presbyterian believes this, and a Baptist believes that, and a Methodist believes that. because within all of those expressions and many others, there would be different theological understandings of this issue and political understandings of those issues. But I would actually guess that even those who are mainline Protestants would still find themselves to be more pro-Israel than not, although their denominational bureaucracies are definitely not pro-Israel. They are very much a part of the BDS movement and other anti-Israel efforts, but I'm not sure that they are very truly representative of the grassroots of even mainline Protestants. But that's probably speculative on my part. What I know is true is that for evangelicals of various denominations, there is a strong support for Israel, and that support is based in a biblical understanding of the role of Israel in the part of God's history in dealing with humankind. And it's also based on the notion, the clear understanding that Israel is America's friend, and at least up until recently, perhaps its only friend in that region of the world. And so for very common sense reasons, many evangelicals understand that Israel deserves the support of America.